a day after Go First got a relief as NCLT, the National Company Law Tribunal, admitted its voluntary plea to initiate the insolvency resolution process. One of the aircraft lessors of the crisis-hit Go First, SMBC Aviation Capital, has moved to NCLAT, which is the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Now, in its petition, the lessor has said that Go First initiated insolvency proceedings to defeat lessor's right over the aircraft they own. On Wednesday, which was yesterday, NCLT granted bankruptcy protection to low-cost airline owned by the Wadia Group in the hope that they can start flying again, but lessors are now preparing for legal battle to repossess the aircrafts. Meanwhile, there are also news reports that Go First is set to resume flights as of 24th of May. Remember, that is what various media organizations are reporting at the moment. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. Joining us at this point in time is Dhiraj Mathur, who's an aviation expert. Dhiraj, appreciate you taking time out. I want to, straight away start by asking, what are lessors trying to achieve through their petition with NCLAT, and is there a reason to believe that NCLAT will entertain the petition and lessors will get their aircrafts back?
Look, the whole idea of the IBC is to protect companies that are in distress, provide them a safe haven or a temporary safe haven while they restructure, do whatever they need to do, either on the financial side or the operation side, so that they can resume normal operations. That's the whole idea. Now, and this is not just in India, but across the world. Chapter 11 in the US, many airlines in the US have gone through Chapter 11, got that relief where they were protected from precipitative action by the lessors, vendors, creditors, while they could get their act together again. So the whole idea of the IBC is to provide a safe haven, temporary safe haven, for companies like Go First, who are in this situation, so that they can resume operations, restructure, refinance, re-engineer, and resume operations. So and one appreciates the concern of the lessors, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But it's not just the lessors, it's also the banks, the financial institutions, sorry, the other vendors who have lent, who Go First owes money to. So all of them are in the same predicament, same boat as the aircraft lessors. Of course, the aircraft lessors have a little more skin in the game because they have very valuable, high-priced assets on the ground that are stranded assets. So one can appreciate their concern, but on the other hand, I don't see how they can get any relief from the NCLT or NCLAT, because the whole purpose of the IBC is precisely to provide relief and protection to companies like Go First, in such predicaments.
Okay, let me get in our legal editor, Ashok Bagriya, who's joining us at the moment. Ashok, the proceedings in NCLAT were on as of a couple of minutes ago. Lessors of Go First, lessors who have, given aircrafts on lease to Go First, are hoping that they will get their aircrafts back. In fact, in the petition, they've been arguing that it looks like an attempt made by Go First to not allow lessors to get their hands on the fleet that they leased out to Go First. What are they trying to achieve through their, through their petition with NCLAT? What can we expect?
Number two, as far as the lessors are concerned, they'll have to first deal with the NCLAT's moratorium order. There is already a moratorium order by the NCLAT which said that the lessors will not be able to repossess the aircraft on which Go First has defaulted on payments. Besides that, there is also, by an earlier order, an interim resolution professional who's been appointed by the NCLAT to take charge over the company. So after Go First filed for insolvency, what has really happened is the entire management and the administrative board of Go First has been suspended. Now it's been taken over by an IRP, which is an interim resolution professional, who will actually manage the affairs of the company and keep Go First as a going concern. Now, that is the term which was used by the NCLAT in its order, saying that we want to keep Go First as a going concern. We do not want it to degenerate or go into bankruptcy. We'll try our best to ensure that this aircraft does not crash, and we'll have to keep it flying. Now, as you pointed out earlier, that there are also reports in various sections of the media where it's being suggested that Go First might resume its flights from 24th of May. Now, there is no official confirmation from it. I have also been hearing from my sources who say that possibly the flights might take off, the flights will resume. But at the moment, it looks like, at the moment, as far as the lessors are concerned, they have been a little slow in approaching the NCLAT. In fact, they should, according to me, they should have filed a caveat in the NCLAT saying that the NCLAT should not have passed any order or should
Right.
not pass any order on moratorium or anything else without hearing the lessor side. But now that moratorium order is in place, the lessors will have to overcome it, and it looks very unlikely that the NCLAT will tamper or tinker with its early order.
Okay, so unlikely there for NCLAT to tinker with the order passed by NCLT to grant a full moratorium to Go First at the moment, which means that the lessors cannot repossess their aircraft. In such a case scenario, I want to ask Dhiraj, does it look feasible for Go First to start operations from May 24th? Because these are media reports. We don't know if it's going to happen or not. They're based on sources, so we can't confirm them either. But does it look like there is a possibility here that Go First will be able to get back on air as latest, in fact, as 24th of May?
Yeah, so now let's look at Go First situation, right? The most important issue is that 50% of its aircraft is grounded. It's grounded because Pratt and Whitney has not fulfilled its contractual obligations or whatever. And that's another legal dispute that's on. But the fact is that 50% aircraft don't have engines and are grounded. And now, so can Go First resume operations of the balance 50%? Now, Go First has been on a cash and carry with the air companies, with the fuel oil marketing companies. So they can get fuel if they can pay for it. Then they have crew. A lot of their crew has left or is leaving and joining other airlines. There are, so all the obligations that existed as on date of their filing that NCLT, not NCLAT, but they went to NCLT, and I think the lessors have gone to NCLAT, the appellate tribunal.
That is correct.
So all the obligations that existed as on date of the NCLT application have been frozen. But moving forward, to continue operations, they will need to meet the ongoing expenses. Now, if they can do that, if they have the crew at that point of time, and they can, they've also been, there's also an issue of when they can start, resume bookings again. So there are a number of moving parts in this. Theoretically, the answer would be yes, but practically it would depend upon how all these moving parts fit in place.
Okay.
So, I would not venture a guess on. I mean, theoretically, the answer is yes to your question that they can start operations again, but with a big caveat that there are a lot of moving parts, there are uncertainties.
Okay. Okay,
A lot of
let's talk
things
about
that
some of
need to be
these.
resolved.
Let's talk about some of these moving parts. And part one is
Sure.
availability of cast and crew. The crew and the pilots that are currently still working, 5,000 of them currently still working with Go First. And NCLT made very clear that no retrenchment process should start, which means that Go First cannot let go of its employees. At the same time, we have heard that many of them have not been paid for. In fact, some of them have been asked to serve notice period in case they want to part ways with crisis hit Go First. I want to bring in Ashok here at this point. Ashok, how fair is it? And please run us through the legal obligation that these employees have who've not been paid for the last couple of weeks to stay on or to be asked to continue without pay for the next couple of months.
Well, this is where exactly the role of the IRP comes in. Now, as I said earlier, the management and the board of Go First has been suspended. So as of today, there is no management or a board of the Go First. The company is being run by one individual who's been appointed by the NCLT. He is an IRP interim resolution professional, Mr. Abhilash Lal, who is an expert in IBC laws. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act provides for an appointment of such IRPs. Now, the job of this IRP is to ensure that the company does not crash, as I pointed out earlier. It is the IRP will make all efforts to ensure that despite whatever has happened or despite whatever troubles the company is facing, it should be kept as a going concern. It should be, the business should not go down the drain, but it should be, he'll try his best to ensure
Right.
that the business is kept afloat. Now, I heard Mr. Mathur point about the fact that there will be, for even the IRP professional, it will be not so easy to keep this whole business of Go First going on, because there are pilots, flight attendants, other ancillary staff who, after this voluntary bankruptcy filing, have quit the company or are in the process of quitting the company. The second thing is with respect to the aircraft. Only 27 aircrafts are in a functional state. Now, if you have to fly the aircraft, you have to get aviation fuel, you have to get a pilot, you have to get the flight crew, you have to get other ancillary crews on the airports to handle other things. Now, what happens is this IRP can technically look into all these aspects. Now, looking entirely from the employee's perspective, here is a situation where employees have not been paid for a few months. They have not been paid their salaries. So they definitely have the freedom to quit the company and go elsewhere. They can put in their papers and say that they are leaving their jobs with or without notice period because they haven't been paid their salaries. So there has been a default on the part of Go First in complying with the contractual obligation which exists between the employer and the employee. The second thing is possibly the IRP can hold a meeting with the staff of Go First and try to convince them that, it's in everybody's interest. If the Go First is able to take wings again, then they will be able to generate revenues, and the revenues could be used to paying the salaries, and other obligations of the companies can be met. So if all these things are put in place, then possibly we can see that in the coming days or coming weeks or coming months, Go First could actually start flying again.
Okay. Okay, I want to quickly talk about the books of Go First at the moment, and Dhiraj, if you can help me here. We understand the debt on Go First at this point in time from creditors and from banks is to the tune of 11,500 crore rupees. That debt they need not pay the debt at the moment because of the full moratorium that has been granted by NCLT. But is there enough cash in hand? Because we know there's not enough cash in hand, and therefore the insolvency process was started to run the day-to-day operation. Do they have enough to cover the operational cost if they were to start flying again?
Now, see, I also don't have access to their their books,
And maybe
I can't answer that question. But
okay.
and now, look, the other point is that now that it's gone into insolvency and you have an IRP, the promoters, the board, the management are all out. Now, had the promoters still been in the game, there would have been an possibility of their putting in the necessary cash to keep the airlines going. But now that they're out of the game, that I think may not be possible. So this will be a challenge. It'll be a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. Now, look, when a new airline is formed, the promoter puts in the initial money as the equity, which is used to, run the operations till the business takes off. Now, in this case, the promoters have taken the company to the NCLT under the bankruptcy code. So this is going to be an issue for the IRP, that how does he get the money to start operations again? Now, this is where the committee of creditors, the banks essentially, and the vendors will play a very critical role, that they need to be convinced and be on board to start operations and, start operations again. Because only they will be able to provide the funding. The promoters at this point of time, I don't think they have a local standard. So it's only the COC, the Committee of Creditors, once it's formed, they're the ones who are going to say, okay, all right, we will put in X amount to get operations up and going again.
And that's just one of the moving parts. The other, of course, being the Pratt & Whitney engines. The big problem that, Go First has been facing for a very, very long time, according to them, is the fact that Pratt & Whitney did not meet its expectations, did not meet its commitment as far as what was signed in the dotted lines between the two parties is concerned. And I want to bring in Ashok here very, very quickly. Ashok, we understand the arbitration award was also not honored on behalf of in Singapore, was not honored by Pratt & Whitney. What exactly can Go First do apart from, going to NCLT, which it has at the moment and has gotten relief, but what exactly can it do to ensure Pratt & Whitney commits to either, repairing engines or commits to giving them the required set of engines as they had asked for, basically meet its commitment?
Well, actually, that will be a cause of another set of litigation. But as far as the existing planes are concerned, it will be the IRP professional who will have to actually get talking to the engine suppliers, which in this particular case is Pratt & Whitney. Now, one of the allegations that has been made by Go First in its insolvency petition here in NCLT is that Pratt & Whitney allegedly delivered faulty engines, which has resulted in grounding of almost 26 of its aircrafts, and it believes that until and unless those engines are delivered, nothing can happen. Now, on the other side is Pratt & Whitney, who believes or who has been going to the media and saying that they have met their commitments and they do not have any obligations towards the aircraft. Now, this again becomes a very sticky situation where there is an agreement between Go First and Pratt & Whitney. Now, there has already been an arbitration. Arbitration is the award has been given. That award is not being honored. Now, when the award doesn't get honored or executed, that gives rise to another set of litigation where the person against whom the award is being given will be forced, or either he goes into appeal saying that I do not agree with the arbitral award and let it be judicially decided. Or otherwise, the person who has got the arbitration award in his or her favor will move for an execution. And that's where the courts will step in and take to some coercive measures to ensure that the party against whom an arbitration award has been given is forced to comply with the terms of agreement.
All right. So that basically calls for another set of litigations, and Go First could be looking and staring at those set of litigations, Dhiraj.
Yeah, sorry. Go First has already filed a suit in a court in the US, in Delaware, asking for the Singapore arbitration award to be enforced. And Pratt and Whitney have, unfortunately, from Go First perspective, said that they're going to contest it and say that that award should not be enforced. And they're talking about Go First alleged patchy record in making payments. And Go First is saying that, look, you guys didn't fulfill your contractual obligations. I mean, and the fact is, if an airline doesn't have working engines on its aircraft, how on earth is it going to fly? I mean, that's the fundamental issue.
Absolutely.
And I think here clearly, and Go First isn't the only airline that has faced a problem. These engines have had an issue from inception when they were first developed and introduced into the market. And we all were very pleased that we said that these are green engines. Aviation is going green. They're fuel efficient, etc., etc. But there have been problems, it turns out, from get-go. So manufacturing got delayed, therefore supply of planes got delayed, and then once the planes were supplied, the servicing of these engines became an issue. Indigo, Air India, and several other airlines across the world have had a problem with it. So I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Okay. I
people are making all sorts of statements and allegations, but the
Right.
fundamental problem is the fact that if you don't have the engine, how are you going to operate an airline?
Okay, I
And with
just want to take a
only
very, very quick
50% of your
question. Mr. Dhiraj Mathur, my apologies, we're running short on time. We just want to take a very, very quick question to Ashok at this point in time. Ashok, what exactly can Indian aviation players do if Pratt & Whitney does not honor the agreement that has been signed? Because we also have Go First, a large fleet of Go First also is from Pratt & Whitney, and although there's not been a problem so far, but what are the options available to Indian airlines in case Pratt & Whitney does not meet its commitment?
Well, as far as Go First is concerned, let's focus on Go First. There are other airlines also who have had a problem with the Pratt & Whitney engines. Now they are trying to resolve them at their individual level. Nobody is going so far as Go First has gone of making allegations.
What is the legal resort? Is there a legal option available?
There is a legal option, as Mr. Mathur said. There is a suit which has been filed in the US against Pratt & Whitney for the recovery of dues or not for failing to meet its obligation. So there is a remedy that you file a suit for recovery or a suit to honor the arbitration award, which was the terms of agreement between Go First and Pratt & Whitney.
Okay.